Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean. I want to talk about a couple of things in this video. I want to talk about the Crawford-Khan fight from Saturday night, and I want to talk about the Spence-Crawford situation. We'll start off with the fight. A very good performance from Crawford, in my opinion. I thought he looked very good against a very poor version of Amir Khan, to be honest. Amir Khan really looked awful in the last fight against Vargas. He's pretty much shot, washed up. You know, he's been around a long time. He's taken some bad knockouts. He's had a lot of time out. He's had quite a few injuries, and he just doesn't really have that same confidence or ambition that he did have at one point. Now, that for me is the key factor going into a fight with someone like Crawford at this particular moment. Now, you could tell from the body language. I don't know if anyone saw they did a face-off on BT. I know it's quite close to the fight, and they mentioned that, and it's kind of a bit unusual. But Crawford, to me, his whole body language, he was like sort of sitting forward like this, just glaring at Khan. You could tell he just had a menacing vibe about him. He just wanted to get in there and do damage. And he's at the point of his career where he considers himself the #1 fighter in the world, and he's trying to prove that he's unbeaten. He's chasing people like Spence. Do you know what I mean? He's just on a different level mentally in terms of like where his mind is. Someone like Amir Khan, who's basically, well, I'd say now, like personally, I'd like to see him retire. But he, even before that, he's very much at the end of his career. He's on the slide. He's been knocked out a few times. He kind of is aware of his limitations, and he was going into that fight kind of chasing a bit of a pipe dream, you know, that he could, you know, beat the pound for pound #1 or #2 or whatever fighter in the world, and kind of get those accolades that he always wanted when he was trying to fight Mayweather and Pacquiao. But I don't really think he believed in himself. He certainly didn't have that same hunger that Crawford had. He just looked to me quite uncomfortable. Well, not necessarily uncomfortable. He just didn't look very confident. He didn't really look like, he had that conviction in him that Crawford did. And then obviously you saw the weigh-in, you saw his body language before he came into the ring. It was just a different mindset in there. Now, physically, he's obviously a bit past his best as well. Slowed down a little bit. His hand speed isn't quite what it was. His feet aren't quite as quick. His reactions, reflexes. So, you know, he was never going to beat Terence Crawford. It was always going to be a mismatch. Now, for me, even when Khan was at his best, which was light welterweight, when he was beating people like Malignaggi, Madonna, good like Zab Judah, like that kind of period where he was, Tim Bradley was ducking him. He was very, very good back then. Khan really beat, in my opinion, beat Lamont Peterson, fought him in his backyard in Washington DC. I think he got robbed in that fight. But back then he was a very, very good fighter. But I don't think even the Khan back then would have beaten Crawford. I think Crawford is just a level above. He looked. I mean, obviously Khan got very good speed. Crawford's also got very good speed, but he's much more intelligent. He's much more calculated. He's got much more strings to his bow. Now, when he put Khan down in the first round, the first meaningful punch he really hit. To be honest, after that, Khan actually did like take a few punches a lot better. But Crawford put him down. He was outboxing him, switched southpaw. Khan normally does well with southpaws. He wasn't really able to get much done against Crawford then. He was kind of lunging in with punches, not really particularly accurate. He did land a few, to be fair. His feet were, like always with Amir Khan, he doesn't really have very good balance. Now, normally he loses balance when he's punching. In this one, he didn't even look that well balanced when he was just moving around. So definitely a decline in Amir Khan, but still a very, very good performance from Crawford. He really just bossed the whole fight, and let's be honest, made him quit. Now, it's a shame that Amir Khan quit like that, because one thing you cannot say about Amir Khan, there's a lot of criticisms, but throughout his career he's shown a lot of heart, and he really has come back from some bad defeats. He's always challenged himself to fight the best. I mean, with the exception of Kell Brook he hasn't taken that fight, but everyone else he's been willing to fight. He's given a very good account of himself, and he's always shown a lot of heart and a lot of mental toughness. So I'm not going to be too hard on him for this one. I think personally, like, he was getting. I don't think he should have taken the fight in the first place, to be honest. So if you're someone who flew out there to Madison Square Gardens, and you're there, you're like the sort of UK crowd, like representing. He's there, and then he basically just gives up. Yeah, I can see how they'd be quite pissed off, because it's a bit. First of all, it's a waste of time and money, but also it's a bit embarrassing when you're there and you're flown out there. You're kind of making a load of noise, and your man does that. So I can see it from that perspective, and I can see that you can't have it both ways. And if you're going to give people like Khan the credit in the past for being tough and for hanging on in there and for showing heart, then you've got to take the criticism when you don't as well. For me personally, I think it's a shame. I'm not going to be too hard on him, just because generally speaking throughout his career he's shown that he's not that kind of person. I just think, as I say, he shouldn't have been in there. He could tell that he was just in over his head. He was getting outboxed. He was getting hit with body shots. He was getting countered, and he knew that sooner or later he's going to get knocked, either unconscious or just severely beaten up. Now, for someone who's already been knocked unconscious a couple of times, been bashed up loads of times, at this point of his career, he probably just thought, you know what, I've had enough of this. I don't need this. And personally, I'm not going to be that hard on him about that. I mean, other people can choose to if they want, but yeah, I mean, I just think he kind of made a decision based on what he knew was inevitable, and he decided, fuck it, I've got an opportunity to get out of this, and I'll take it. Now, as for Crawford, as I say, it was a very impressive performance, but it was against a very overmatched opponent. So now, what everybody wants to see is Terence Crawford against Errol Spence. Now, Bob Arum is, talking a lot. He's saying he said in the post-fight interview or in the ring, that Al Heyman is blocking it, this, that, and the other. Now, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It certainly looks like a pattern with Al Heyman fighters. I mean, you've got him blocking clearly the Wilder Joshua fight. You've got looks like blocking the Ortiz Joshua fight, the Tank Davis, not just Lomachenko, but pretty much anyone that's any good. So there definitely does seem to be a pattern there with Al Heyman fighters. But having said that, what I would like to see is, if Bob Arum and Terence Crawford, if they really are serious about making a fight, then it's all very well like making these interviews and stuff like that, and just making these claims. What you need to do is make a serious offer. Not like just someone on, like some PR stunt or kind of, an interview here saying we'll do this. You need to basically make an offer, actual money, actual contract, meetings, and then let it be known that you are actively making serious, legitimate offers. That's what I want to see. Or from the other side as well. But I saw an interview with Leonard Ellaby the other day, when he was just openly saying that their plan was to basically duck Crawford. That the PBC in general basically freeze him out. He was quite smugly sort of saying they can't get a big fight for him. And it's a shame. That just seems to be the way that it is in America at the moment. You've got all these network politics. You've got Bob Arum obviously came in and pretty much fucked up the Fury Wilder rematch. Now you've got Heyman presumably fucking up this fight. So it just seems to me that there's just so much politics and so much of these sort of networks just trying to get one over on each other that's going to prevent the fight. Now, I do think in this instance it's going to be Heyman and PBC who are blocking it. Now, obviously, they've got all these other fights they want to make. Crawford doesn't exactly have that many options, but this is the fight we want to see. Now, I'm a fan of Crawford. I'm a big fan of Errol Spence as well. Always have been. Even when he was fighting against Brook, and there was a little bit of, back and forth between the two sets of fight. I've always respected Spence, and I've always liked him. Now, I liked his attitude, and I do think I definitely think he'll fight Crawford any day of the week. Now, the Mikey Garcia fight was obviously a load of bollocks, but I thought fair enough. You're fighting at Cowboy Stadium in front of 40,000 people, maybe even more. You're fighting against a pretty well-known Mexican fighter, so you're going to do well on pay-per-view. So, look, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? I don't begrudge him having that fight, but I don't want to see a continuation. I don't take the piss now. Do you know what I mean? Crawford is the fight now that I want to see. So I want to see people push for that fight. I'm not interested in. Don't get me right. If Spence fights now Sean Porter in a unification, but I'm personally not that interested in it. I don't think Sean Porter really wants to fight. I just think that he'll take a load of money and do it, but it's not something that interests me. Crawford is there. He is, most people consider the number one fighter in the world. Spence and Crawford, this is the match that we want to see, and this is someone who's calling you out, because he said to him about the boogeyman. He goes, "That's me." So straight away, he is openly challenging Spence now. So that's what I want to see as a Spence fan. I want to see him basically push towards making that Crawford fight, because that's going to be an amazing fight. Now, in terms of making it, I don't know, like the complications. Now, I don't know. Presumably, that fight didn't do very well on pay-per-view. Spencer, although he just sold out Madison Square. I don't know if he sold out, but he sold a big fight at Madison Square Gardens, considered like the kind of pound-for-pound champion. Very, very good record. So Crawford brings a lot to the table in terms of selling tickets and pay-per-views and stuff. I mean, Spence only done one, hasn't he? But I don't know, like them. It's not very clear cut who is the sort of the quote unquote A side in this fight. That they can hopefully come to some kind of arrangement. The problem is, are there parties on both sides willing to make it happen? I don't think there are. So we're going to need a lot of fan pressure on it. Now, I'm not interested in just, as I say, I'm not interested in Sean Porter, to be honest. It's a legitimate fight, and I won't criticise it, but it's of no interest to me, really. I want to see Spence, Crawford. Those are the two best by a million miles in that division. Spence is arguably up there, like the best in the world as well, in terms of ability and potential. I think he also can be up there, but he hasn't obviously proven it yet. So this is the fight I want to see. So Bob Arum, Top Rank. You can't just you can't just do an interview and claim this and that. You need to do what Matchroom and Joshua did. When there's the sort of Wilder, Joshua, they basically put it out there. We're making this offer. We're actually you're welcome to have a meeting. You can see all the terms, so the world can see who wants it and who doesn't. That's what you need to do. So yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else really I want to say. I've got a few other things I want to make a couple of videos about, hopefully if I get a chance next week. So let me know what you lot think, and thank you very much for watching.